to you by AffordableClassifieds.com, our new classifieds and auction site, launching soon. Use this code to receive 6 months of free classifieds.
Here on the 2016 Road Glide Ultra. Missing for 2 years in Harley's lineup, it's back. Twin cam high output engine, which puts out about 10% more power than the non-high output engine. 6-speed belt driven drive, and incidentally the belt drive has been silent and perfect, unlike a lot of bikes I've ridden lately. Harley's been doing it longer than anybody in recent memory. Passenger seat, it's about an inch longer, about an inch wider, a little bit more support for the back, and it's quite comfortable back there. But there is an audio control for the passenger, big wide floorboards for the passenger, very nice space to be, and the stereo really gets to the passenger as well. More on that later. The Ultra has a full fairing, frame mounted, stay straight when you're turning. It's not mounted to the bars or anything. Takes the weight off the bars actually. The only thing that isn't full about it is the windshield. It's not the full height windshield that goes up, you know, puts the wind over your head, absolutely. But what they've come up with is really, really nice, and it does the job really, really well. And there's a lot to be said. Let's start with this control here on the dash. That opens a vent right here, and it changes the flow, the dynamics of the airflow, and it just quiets things down a bit. I've been running it in the open position today before I've been running it in the closed position. Especially when you're closer to the windshield, it's very, very quiet with that thing open. It's very, very nice. But there's a lot of other great things about this fairing. Inside here, there's a little bit of light, there's 2 vents. And in warm weather, you open those vents and you get a rush of air flowing through here, through the bars, and to the rider directly. I know because first time I rode the bike, it was really warm, had them open, and it's just like a shotgun flow of air. It's really, really good. Every touring bike, or every bike with a full fairing like this, should have something like that. Kudos to Harley, it does a great job. On the lowers, there's radiators on the top part of it, but below that there's a little door you can open for winter, close for summer, or vice versa, or whatever you like. But really, really good air management. And one of the things about this windshield not being even taller, I mean, I'm over 6'2", I can sit up straight, I can see over the windshield, like, you know, during the rain. If you're short, that's going to be much harder. But what this windshield gives you that's so important is there's no backflow swirl of air. So you're never being pushed forward, your head's never being buffeted from behind. It's a very distractive thing. I mean, it's like, you know, cold air going down the back of your neck where it pushes you forward at times. There's absolutely none of that going on. So it's a very nice place. How quiet is the windshield? Well, full fairing is of course quiet. The windshield is not silent, but it's very, very good. It's actually better than some of the bikes I've ridden that had the full windshield. So I would say they've definitely worked it out well. I mean, you can probably even hear it. There's a little bit of buffeting noise coming off the shield. I mean, it's kind of going over my helmet, but creates a little bit of air, but it's never terrible. This fairing, it encases the wonderful LED headlamps, high beam and low beam, both LED. They're extremely bright white light, and you get used to it and you don't want anything else. Now, how good of a headlight is it? Well, straight line, it's a good low beam, and it's a good high beam. Get into corners, then we're going to just call it average or a little better. You know, there's no lighting for corners particularly or anything special, but the styling of the headlamps, the brilliant white light is really, really nice. It's just really cool to look at as well because of the great styling it provides. Now the Ultra has a 6.0 gallon gas tank by the specs, but I've never been able to get that into it. I've run this thing dry by the range, the readout. I've run it down to 2 miles left. Range comes up here when you cycle through it, and only put 5.4, barely over 5.4 gallons in. So usability, I'm getting 5.4. Not the 6 gallons per spec. So if it runs down to range 0, I guess you have a little left if it can use the rest of that 6 gallons. Gas mileage, well, I can't tell you all of them, but in a 225 mile trip, all highway and wind, just normal travel on the road, traffic, moving, some wind, some non-windy, 225 miles is basically max what I'm getting based on the range I just told you, and about 42 miles to the gallon in normal traveling riding. When it goes to reserve, you get a light, and then the range left starts counting. It's very useful. The other things you cycle through here with the button up on the left bar here is trip 1, trip 2, normal odometer, and range. Now getting back to the fairing, how good is it at cold weather protection? Well, you can watch our video on the Harley-Davidson electrically heated gear and you'll really find out. But basically, the body is really, really protected. Hands, good protection, nothing's going to keep everything off. Feet get cold, not instantly or anything. Above that on the legs, really good protection. A lot of bikes that have great protection, however, you're going to be sweltering in the summer. But as I pointed out, those other vents and so forth make this an all-season bike straight from the factory without adding winglets or something, which is really great. It's the way every bike should be. Now you want to talk about a multimedia system or entertainment system or electronics package. The Ultra is absolutely loaded. And new, I think the panel sticks out closer to the rider than the previous model of over 2 years ago. So it's a little bit easier to reach. It's still a reach, but better than it was. Comes standard with cruise control, which is down here, left side, next to the volume. And it works pretty much flawlessly. It's really good. Turn it on, yellow light comes on the dash down here. Hit it, it's set, I'm gone. I mean, it picks up instantly, just like they should. You want to slow down, push down. You want to speed up, push up. I'm using it to cancel as well. It's actually the easiest thing to cancel is to reach over and push that. Because the clutch has to be pulled in a long ways and it's not an easy pull clutch. The throttle turn off has to be really forced forward, and the rear brake, even takes a little bit more than that. So I'm actually using the button to turn it off as well. But that cancels your reset, so you can just push and take off where you were. That cancels that, but it's just, I find, the easiest way to get to it. Horn button up here, winter gloves, I just find it difficult, even though it's got a shape to it. Hard to find. It's in from the horn. There's two buttons that are alike. I just can't get it and retain it at all times. I'll have it down, and then all of a sudden I'll be fumbling a little bit. 6 gears, pretty much like an overdrive. On the right hand over here we have start, our emergency flasher, there's a kill button, an info button, our turn signal. It has left and right. Our turn signals are on each side of the bar, which I could easily do without. I could do with one button, as BMW finally went to one button. It's just so much easier, nicer. And then we have a joystick on both sides. This is a no-no in my book. Right hand using winter gloves, trying to do a joystick, and just remembering what each joystick does. Okay, then you get it down, then you get back on the bike, it's like, what did those buttons do again? This system, which has USB, which works flawlessly, it's really, really cool. I use it endlessly. Put a USB in this pocket here, which has a soft close. Another pocket over here, which has a soft close, no latch. Just does its job. Put a USB stick in there and it'll play it alphabetically. You could code your music files a certain way to get them to come up the way you want. But you can fast forward, you can reverse, you can go to the next track, the back track, all from the USB stick, which is really, really cool. I mean, like here on the coast, there's no reception. If I was listening to something right now, it would be that. I'm just putting the map on here. At night, with the way this is set when I got the bike, I cannot even read the GPS at night, unfortunately. There are others that are so much better. In the daytime, it's not easy to read. It's really tough. But the number of controls you have is almost like unlimited, what you can do with your joysticks, both sides. The features you can set while you're riding. There's every feature imaginable on this thing. And you can zoom on the left side there, you can see it. You can zoom in or zoom out, which is great. You can set points of interest. You can turn off all the different things that can pop up, like gas stations. So very, very cool. I mean, let's zoom in the GPS there just for the heck of it. You have some side buttons here, like the home button. There's a mute button down here. Very good. So you got some buttons as well. In the dash of this fairing, we have a fuel gauge on the left, which is awesome. I mean, you just glance up, you catch it real easy, real quick. So easy to read. That's why it's so enjoyable. Volt gauge on the right. Then you got your speedometer, tachometer, and your cycle through LEDs here that I mentioned earlier. Now this is a keyless bike. Key fob goes in your pocket and you just turn this, and it works really, really well. It's my favorite keyless that I've used to date. You can come up to a stop, put down the kickstand, put the bike over, turn off the ignition, but you can go all the way to the steering lock position, and when you turn the bars to the left, it will lock all on its own. You walk away, it blinks a light saying, hey, you just walked away, we're setting ourselves here. It's really cool, it's not difficult. Now the fuel cap here, by customer demand, has no key, does not lock. Pop up the lid and the screw-on cap is under that. It's the way customers wanted it, so Harley listened and did what their customers asked. You can't ask for more than that. So other features of this unit, it's got one of my favorite things. It's got Bluetooth. You take your phone, pair it up, play music files or whatever. It'll read it through here. You can use features to go forward and back. It'll tell you what it's playing. It's really, really nice. I've used that a whole bunch. Now, you have a headset cord right here in the center console, which is a great place for it, instead of running over things. And if you run a headset and the cord, I mean, you can do voice command with this thing. It's almost endless, and the book is this thick. And you keep going back to the book and back to the book. How did that work? How did that work? What other feature does it have? I mean, somebody put so much effort into this system, it's ridiculous. But it's still complicated. And then you add a joystick on the throttle side, buttons that don't really lend themselves to picking up real quick, and it's kind of a handful, but it's an endless array of what's possible with this system. I mean, it's astounding what this system has. You know, I haven't even explored it all yet, nor will I have the time to do that. Now let me talk about the comfort of this bike. I think it's really important. I mentioned earlier about the passenger, the changes, the big floorboards for the passengers. Passengers' knees are kind of high, but it's really comfortable. For the driver, let's start out with the seat. The seat is not heavy. It's lightweight. I've had it off, plastic pan on the bottom. Why wouldn't you? It's not heavy. It's very light. Okay, the driver's seat is maybe one of the, well, it's vying for the most comfortable seat of any motorcycle. It's just absolutely comfortable. First 6 hours straight on the bike, I'm not even thinking about the seat. I'm not thinking about changing my position to keep it lasting longer. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And now, I won't add up the hours, but many hours later, I'm still not thinking about the seat. I'm still not worried about the seat. I'm not shifting like you do on virtually all bikes to make the seat either remain comfortable or after it's gone away for you to be able to even sit on the bike, start moving around. None of that. This seat is pretty much fantastic. And it's got the high rise, so it fits right in the small of your back when you lean back. Very comfortable and supportive there. Kind of the cruiser slump. It's just right for it. It's perfect. Now the floorboards, normally on virtually all cruisers, you know, I'm moving my feet around here and there. This thing, the seating position is so comfortable, I drop my feet where they are and I never move them. And they're never tired, they're never fatigued, nothing. They're just comfortable. You know something's working when you're not thinking about it, and that's the way it is with the feet. You know, they have some cush to them, which is really nice. The knee position, like most cruisers, well, my knees are above the tank, but my knees don't feel high like on a lot of bikes. My knees feel absolutely perfect. There's enough leg room for taller riders. It's caused no fatigue whatsoever. This bike has rider comfort absolutely dialed in. It is one of the best and vying for the absolute best in my book of everything I've ridden. And you know, I've ridden a lot of bikes like this recently.